This presentation is about peer observation of teaching practice. Please do email me or contact me via Twitter if you want to discuss any aspect of it. As part of our professional development, we are all keen to seek feedback about the effectiveness of our teaching and to continually develop our skills as educators. This will involve a conscious audit process to compare our current performance with a particular aim or gold standard. We can get information for this review, reflect and revise step in a number of ways. For example, we can measure the learning gain of our students by monitoring their performance in assessments. We can also review quantitative and qualitative evaluations of our teaching by students and use our own reflections on teaching events. But for really detailed qualitative feedback and evidence-based guidance, I want to advocate the use of a systematic peer observation method. Within communities of educational practice, engagement in peer observation enhances both teaching quality and enjoyment and confidence for teachers. It's useful for all teachers, from novices to curriculum leaders. Having our own teaching observed by a trusted colleague can provide us with essential feedback, and observing others will allow us to consider new teaching methods and teaching styles and new ideas. This quotation from a colleague sums up the advantages. Through practice, reflection, and with the help of feedback from our peers, we can enhance the quality of teaching and the experience of teachers. There are a number of things to consider when planning peer observation, and the rest of this presentation will be about the venue and focus of your observations and the systematic documentation of the peer review process. It will also be about peer partners and reciprocal approaches. The principles for giving and receiving feedback will be considered in a linked presentation. So far, images of undergraduate lecture theatres have been used in my slides, and a classic 50 to 60-minute lecture is a straightforward event to observe and to receive feedback on. But almost any other teaching and learning event is also a good context for peer observation, such as problem-based learning and other small group tutorials, clinical skills sessions, anatomy teaching, also clinical placements and workplace-based teaching, and even assessments. One thing to be sensitive of, however, is that the smaller the venue or group is, the bigger the impact of the observer will be. Peer observation should be an active process for the teacher being observed. The choice of venue and the focus of the observation and the paperwork used should fit with the observee's personal CPD plan. I don't want to be overly prescriptive here, but here are some ideas and questions that the observee may want her observer to focus on. Preparation and organisational skills. How well prepared is the teacher with respect to their teaching materials and understanding the wider curriculum? Does the teacher consider knowledge construction, i.e., do they use stepwise delivery and link new information to prior knowledge? Is the content and pace appropriate? And does the teacher avoid cognitive overload? Are the students engaged and focused? Is there evidence of active learning through the use of tests and questions? For small group facilitation such as PBL, are interventions timely and well judged by the tutor? The observee may also want detailed feedback on handouts or linked learning resources, particularly if they're engaged in flipped lecturing. The objectives and observations collected from the peer observation process should be documented in a systematic way. The form's useful for data feedback conversations, and they'll ultimately be used for the teacher's CPD portfolio. Here is an example of a typical form but many other models exist. There are many ways that a peer observation culture can be encouraged within module and faculty teams. But one method that I have always encouraged for modules that I lead is reciprocal peer observation. With this approach, teachers pair up for one academic year and observe each other's chosen teaching sessions. They then meet to have an open and honest discussion about their experiences and pedagogy. I do want to emphasize the supportive and enjoyable aspects of peer observation at this point. Its strength depends on a safe, formative and reflective process. At its heart, the process stems from a professional relationship with a colleague and critical friend, and it can result in a generous exchange of practical, educational and philosophical ideas, with the potential for growth and development. It is important to maintain an appropriate boundary with your colleague so that the whole process is professionally useful and valid. This has been referred to as the appropriate psychological distance. Anyone who's been an appraiser or contributed to 360-degree appraisal will understand this notion. So here's a summary of the process of reciprocal peer observation. Number 1, identify a colleague and agree arrangements. Number 2, be clear about what you want the focus of your observation to be. Number 3, attend each other's sessions and document them. And number 4, meet up to reflect and discuss your observations. When offering feedback, be that written or face-to-face, any suggestions should be specific and constructive. Do focus on learning and teaching, and do share ideas, knowledge and resources. In summary, there are a number of practical considerations to manage and encourage peer observation. It is widely adopted across all educational settings because it's a powerful and supportive technique to use as part of annual continuous professional development.